Devastating moment, little girl pleads don't hurt us. When her father arrives home at 3 a.m., the clock ticked slowly, each second igniting the tension in the chilled air. Outside, the moon hung low, sprawled across the night sky, teasing the shadows that danced like phantoms. A faint rustle of leaves whispered secrets, but inside the house, silence loomed heavy. Then came a piercing cry. "Daddy, don't hurt us." It sliced through the stillness like a jagged knife, echoing off the crumbling walls. Inside, 9-year-old Lily stood trembling, her wide brown eyes glimmering with tears. Her small frame barely shielded her younger brother, Max, who quivered behind her. They were bathed in the faint glow of the flickering hallway light, shadows leaping menacingly as they pressed against the walls. A shiver crept down Lily's spine. The door creaked open, revealing their father, soaked from the rain and wild-eyed, yet carrying that terrifying mixture of vulnerability and anger. The way he stepped inside didn't seem right. He looked like a stranger, his face twisted with a desperate intensity. Lily took a step back. Her heart raced, pounding like a drummer in a parade. Was this her hero or a monster? Max, clutching a tattered teddy bear, sniffled, the soft whimper breaking the thick air. They were trapped. Outside, the wind howled like a wounded animal, pushing against the walls as if trying to break in. What had happened while he was gone? The sharp smell of alcohol wafted in, mingling with rain-soaked earth. Those few moments felt like hours, each heartbeat echoed with uncertainty. The house, usually a haven, now morphed into a cage, and they were the captured. The air crackled with something sinister and unknown. "Lily," their dad said, his voice a guttural murmur, thick as the fog outside. "What are you doing?" His eyes darted wildly, caught between love and something far darker. A flicker of fear ignited in her stomach. Was he angry? Scared? Just then, her phone buzzed violently on the kitchen counter. Was it a call? A message? In this moment of dread, curiosity clawed at her. Yet, the more immediate danger loomed before her, twisted and unpredictable. Then, just as Lily opened her mouth to speak, the house fell into an eerie silence. The distant sound of thunder rumbled like a warning bell, shaking the very foundation beneath them. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in the darkened room, tension thickened like fog. Her father leaned forward, and in that moment, Lily glimpsed a flicker of the father she loved buried beneath layers of confusion and pain. "We need to get out of here," he said, desperation lacing his words. "They're coming." The word hung in the air like a bad dream rearing its ugly head. Who was coming? Max tightened his grip on the teddy bear as fear pooled in his eyes. Everything fell silently into chaos at that moment, the stillness of the room shattered by the pounding of approaching steps outside. Each footfall was a promise of impending doom, and she could feel her chest tighten, breath hitching like a broken engine. As the door rattled, Lily knew one thing for certain: their world was about to change forever. Lily's heart raced as the sound of footsteps grew louder, a slow prelude to the storm that threatened to crash into their fragile reality. The door shuddered again, as if a beast were scratching to be let in. Shadows outside flickered in the dim light, reminding her of monsters lurking, waiting for just the right moment to pounce. "We can't stay here," her father pleaded, desperation clawing at his voice. He whipped his head towards the door, his own fear amplifying the terror in Lily's chest. She could see the tension in his muscles, like a rubber band about to snap. "Who is coming?" Lily could barely whisper. She held Max close, their bodies pressed together, seeking warmth and security in a world that felt increasingly hostile. Her father hesitated, his eyes darting around, desperately searching the dark corners of their home. I don't know. A shiver ran through him, and the fear written across his face made her gasp. This was not the man she knew, the gentle father who brushed away her fears at bedtime. This man was frantic, unmoored. Lightning illuminated the living room for just a heartbeat, casting grotesque shadows that twisted across the walls. It felt like the darkness itself had come alive. The door rattled more violently now, the sound like a distorted scream. Then, a voice, gruff and demanding, broke through the chaos. "Open up." It resonated off the walls, filling the small space with a chill so sharp it made Lily's skin prickle. "We know you're in there." Max whimpered, and all she could do was shush him, stroking his hair gently to calm his trembling. "It's okay, Max. Everything's gonna be okay." She hoped, desperately wishing her naive words could weave a protective spell over them. "Lily, listen to me," her father urged, his voice lower now, yet more intense. "We need to go. Now." He darted his eyes to the back door, an escape route barely noticed before now. The seeds of panic ballooned in her stomach. How much danger were they really in? "Where, Dad?" she stammered, anxiety spearing her heart. "Where can we go?" The cruel reality pressed against them like a weight, and fear whispered doubts in her ear. What lay outside in the storm? Families were supposed to be safe at home, not running from something lurking in the shadows. "We need to get to the woods. It's our only chance," he said, squeezing her shoulder. It was a strange mix of urgency and terror that coursed through him. "If we don't," his words were cut off as the door gave a fierce shudder, splintering the fragile tension in the air. She jumped at the sound, and suddenly they were in motion, her small legs propelling her forward, unable to comprehend the enormity unraveling around them. Her father grabbed a jacket, fumbling with the fabric, but his grip was steady, a promise of protection in uncertain times. "Go!" he barked, the command jolting her from her stupor. They were a blur of movement, darting for the back door as the pounding at the front grew louder, more impatient, but as they reached for the handle, a horrifying realization sunk in. The back door wouldn't open. "Dad," the word strangled in her throat. "What do we do?" His face turned ashen, eyes wide as he repeated again, "We have to find another way." The footsteps drew closer, and as they tried frantically to break free, Lily felt despair claw at her insides. Trapped in a nightmare with nowhere to run, she wondered if this night would end in safety or if they were destined to be hunted, and before she could think, the door surged with a force they couldn't prepare for. What emerged on the other side would shatter everything she thought she knew. The door burst open, and the world they clung to shattered around them. A towering figure filled the entrance, silhouetted against the storm. Rain whipped around him, casting eerie patterns across his drenched clothes. Lily's breath caught as her father's protective demeanor faltered. "Step aside." The figure barked, his voice cutting through the storm like a knife. It wasn't just a demand, it was a decree. The darkness behind him pulsed as if the shadows themselves had come alive, writhing in anticipation. "Who are you?" Lily's father shouted, his voice trembling despite his bravado. The fear radiating from him was palpable, igniting an old terror in Lily's heart. She squeezed Max's hand tighter, feeling his small body shudder against her. "I said move." The man stepped forward, and Lily could see the glint of something metallic in his hand. A weapon? Panic exploded in her chest as she stepped back, dragging Max with her, instinctively wanting to shield him from whatever nightmare awaited them. "Please don't hurt us," Lily called out, though her voice felt tiny, swallowed by the chaos around her. The moment stretched indefinitely, darkness swallowing every fragment of hope she had left. Without a hint of mercy, the man advanced, the light gleaming off his weapon. Her father shoved Lily and Max behind him, widening his stance. "You don't have to do this," he pleaded, his voice raw with desperation. At that moment, the thunder rolled overhead, and a sickening sense of dread settled deeper in Lily's gut. Just beyond the man, another shadow flickered. She could sense a sinister pack behind him, waiting with hungry eyes, creatures of the storm, and they were ready to prey on the frightened. Then a blood-curdling scream shattered the air. Lily's heart raced in her chest as she turned towards the sound, a knot of fear tightening around her throat. It was a woman, wailing from the depths of the night, calling out for someone, anyone, to save her. The voice echoed, pulling at strained heartstrings, and swept through the chaos like a rogue wind. "Dad, we need to help her," Lily cried, instinctively wanting to reach out, but her father's hand shot out to grab her wrist. Panic swirled on his face, the storm in his eyes reflecting a different kind of fear. There was danger here, a darkness that tasted of hopelessness. "No, Lily," he forced out, his grip firm. "We can't. This isn't what we think it is." But his voice trembled, barely masking the uncertainty that knotted his gut. The man moved closer, storm winds whipping around him like a violent tempest. "Enough of this," he growled. "You come with me, or I will take you by force." "Stay back," Lily's father shouted, pushing Lily and Max further behind him, a barricade of flesh and bone against the encroaching terror. The shadows surged, and in that moment, Lily felt a fierce flicker of courage igniting within her. "Listen, we're just a family, the man barked, the word dripping with scorn. "You're nothing but a distraction, a liability." The winds howled wildly, drowning out all sense, but still, the woman cried out from the darkness. The weight of moral choice pressed against Lily's chest. Was their safety worth abandoning someone else? "Dad, we can't leave her." But as she looked up at her father, she saw the strain in his face, tension and fear wrestling against the sound of another fragile life being swept away. Then the choice loomed ahead, and all she could see were shadows. Would they follow the call of duty or retreat into the darkness? And just as the storm surged behind them, Lily knew that whatever decision they made next would change everything. Lily's heart raced. Time felt suspended as they faced the man at the door. His figure loomed larger, shadows swirling like smoke, and every breath felt like an echo of impending doom. Max's small, trembling form was pressed tightly against her, the warmth of his body only adding to the chill of the night. Her father's face twisted in anguish as he glanced at the door, then back at the shadows, fear contorting his features. "There are people out there," he shouted, desperation suffusing his words. "We can't just let them. If we don't help, we might." "No." The man stepped closer, his jaw set like stone, eyes glinting with something dark and unforgiving. "You're not listening. You're too weak to deal with the truth." His grip on the weapon tightened, menace radiating from him as the wind howled like a creature hungry for blood. The chilling scream from the night clawed at Lily, pulling her away from the scene unfolding before her. It was a plea for life, a fight against despair. Could they really abandon someone, knowing the fate that awaited them? She felt herself inching forward, the instinct to help clashing violently with her father's warning glare. "Please." The storm grew louder, almost drowning out her thoughts. "We need to go. What if she dies out there?" Each word pulled her deeper into turmoil. "Think, Lily," her father urged, a painful edge to his voice. "It's not safe. You don't understand. This isn't a coincidence. Those screams. They're a lure." Panic flared in his eyes, revealing the depths of despair he fought to conceal. Suddenly, the floorboards creaked under the weight of something unseen. A flicker of movement caught her eye, more shadows creeping, merging, and unraveling into the storm. It was as if they were alive, seeking something. She could hardly focus on her father's voice, on what he said. All she could see were the silhouettes, and behind them, the storm, a living creature, filled with malicious intent. Then, as if in response to her pain and the madness of the night, the screams intensified. A heart-wrenching wail that ripped through her insides, saturating the air with terror until it choked her. A flash of light illuminated the doorway, and for a fleeting second, Lily saw figures dancing in the shadows, eyes glistening like daggers ready to tear through the fabric of her world. "Come on, Dad. We can't let that happen." Lily couldn't breathe. "We need to get her. She needs us." She might be trapped or hurt. The shadows behind the man multiplied, swirling with a sinister energy. Max squeezed her hand tightly, his fear leaking into her resolve. "Lily," he whispered, eyes wide as the storm crashed around them. "What are you gonna do?" The tension spiraled as she met her father's gaze, flickering with a fierce determination she hadn't felt before. The shadows beckoned, pulling at every fiber of her being. Was it worth the risk? Was she strong enough to help? The man in the doorway laughed, a harsh, guttural sound. "You think bravery will save you? You know nothing." "Maybe I don't," she replied quietly, her voice steadying despite the chaos. "But doing nothing will kill me." In that instant, everything felt balanced on a knife's edge, the shadows creeping closer, the storm roaring, and the distant plea still echoing in her mind. Before she could blink, a decision surged within her. "Dad," she said, almost whispering now. "We're going to help her. Let us go." As she stepped forward, the man's eyes blazed with anger, shadows coiling like vipers around him. It was a momentary pause, but a spark ignited behind the hollow menace. And as she moved towards the door, every instinct screamed for her to turn back, but she couldn't. Not now. The storm's fury began to rise, the thundering roar drowning out all reasoning just as she heard footsteps approaching from beyond the shadows. Was it rescue or the true face of darkness? Lily's heart pounded. She had stepped into the abyss. The door creaked, echoing through the night like a sinister whisper, and Lily's heart raced even faster. Every inch forward felt like stepping into a trap, the storm's fury swirling around her like a vengeful force. Her father's face twisted in grim resignation, the struggle in his eyes between fear for them and a desperate need to protect was palpable. "Lily, no!" He shouted again, but his voice was swallowed by the wind. She glanced at Max, his small face pale against the backdrop of chaos. He gripped her hand, eyes wide, panic spilling over. "What if we can't find her?" he murmured, and she could feel the weight of his fear, anchoring her to the moment. "I can't leave her," Lily shouted back, her voice breaking against the relentless storm. "She needs us." As if to mock her determination, the wind howled louder, drowning her hopes. The shadows thrummed at the edge of the doorway, eager to engulf her, to pull her into the darkness where the screams originated. She could see them shifting, coiling together like a living organism, hungry and lurking. Suddenly, the man laughed again, a low, chilling sound that sent tremors of dread down her spine. "You think you're heroes, don't you? You're nothing but lambs wandering into the slaughter." Lily felt a surge of defiance. "We're not afraid of you." He shifted on his feet, shadows bending with him, revealing a face twisted with malice. "Fear is the least of your worries. Out there, they wait, and you have no idea what you're up against." Her father's hands were clenched, silently imploring her to listen, to turn back. The plea in his gaze cut through her like a sharp knife. "Please, Lily, think of Max," he pressed, desperation creeping into his voice, but with every moment, the screams became clearer, more desperate, clawing at her heart until it felt ready to shatter. She labeled the fear in her father's eyes, but her own fear was eclipsed by a swell of determination. "I want to go back," she said, voice firm as she tightened her hold on Max's hand. "Not now." The air thickened, cumbersome and sharp, and just then, a new sound emerged, footsteps, heavy and deliberate, but they had a rhythm of their own. Unfamiliar and menacing, they drew closer with every beat, rising above the storm as if the darkness itself gave them life. "Lily!" her father yelled, but this time it was tinged with a warning more urgent than before. "We need to get inside." But before she could protest, the door swung fully open, revealing a flash of light that carved through the dark, casting shadows aside. The storm roared in protest. Two figures emerged, silhouetted by the glow, their intentions wrapped in darkness. "Together, now!" one shouted, reaching out, but before Lily could react, a gust swept through, leaving a chilling echo of dread in its wake. Max stumbled back, the darkness swirling aggressively around them, a visceral reminder of the danger that loomed. Lily felt icy fingers wrap around her heart, a paralyzing fear that threatened to pull her back. "Who are?" she started, but the question stayed lodged in her throat. "Keep moving," cried the figure with outstretched hands, the urgency palpable. "We're running out of time." In that moment, the shadows lunged forward, a wave of despair crashing against Lily's resolve. She turned to her father, searching for the reassurance that he would lead them to safety. But the shadows were closing in, dark and insatiable. "Run!" her father screamed as the figures behind him moved in sync, stepping into the realm of the shadows, where faces became masked by fear and obscurity. An urgency gripped Lily, pulling her into action as she stumbled forward, dragging Max along. "Come on!" she shouted, the terror pushing her legs faster as the darkness crawled behind her like an insatiable beast. As she darted across the threshold, the door crashing shut behind them, the winds howled, sending shivers deep into her bones. But the fight wasn't over. The darkness had followed. What lay in wait? And could their desperate bid for rescue lead them deeper into danger? The night held its breath, waiting for the next move, a moment suspended in time where dawn could either bring hope or despair. The moment the door slammed shut, it seemed to seal away the last remnants of safety they had. The air inside was stale, heavy with the scent of damp wood and something acrid that clawed at her throat. Pressure filled Lily's head, drowning out the storm's roar beyond. She could hardly hear anything except the rapid thumping of her heart. "Stay close," her father ordered, casting frantic glances toward the now impenetrable darkness outside. The two figures who had come to their aid stood panting, their faces painted with urgency. They didn't look like saviors, they looked just as scared as Lily felt. "We have to move," one of them shouted. She had fiery red hair that gleamed in the dim light. "It's not safe here." Lily's pulse quickened. "But what about your sister?" Max interjected, his small voice quivering. "We can't just leave her." The red-haired figure knelt, gripping Max by the shoulders. "Listen to me, kid. We don't have time for this. If we don't go now, it'll be too late. She's in a place you can't begin to understand." The words hung heavy in the air, dripping with foreboding. The other figure, a man with a haunted gaze, nodded in agreement. "They're coming. We don't know how long we can hold them off. Trust us. You must trust us." Lily's gut churned. She felt torn, a raw agony twisting within her. How could she leave without knowing? But Max's hand shook fiercely in her grip, reminder of what was at stake. "All right, let us go," she breathed, making a decision that felt equal parts brave and reckless. Drawing on every ounce of courage, she turned toward the dark hallway that twisted into the heart of the house. Each creak of the floorboards echoed like a countdown, tightening the noose of fear that threatened to choke her. They raced together, the sound of their hurried footsteps swallowed by an ominous silence. "Down here." The red-haired figure beckoned, darting into a narrow passageway that led beneath the stairs of their uncertain lives above. As they slipped into the shadows, a deafening crash erupted from the front door. The shadows had found them. "Run!" her father barked again, this time with a ferocity that tore through her very soul. They barreled forward, the weight of their urgency pulling them deeper. The passageway was dark, but flickers of light danced ahead, hinting at a place where hope might still linger. Suddenly, Lily noticed something moving in the periphery, a flashing shape darting behind a corner, not quite human, not quite animal. Her heart pounded as she squinted through the dimness, caught between the need to go on and the instinct to look back. "Keep moving," the haunted gaze urged, nearly stumbling in his own pace as he reached for a frail-looking panel door, leading into another room. Panic surged. "What about her?" Lily demanded, desperation climbing in her throat. "Focus," the man barked, voice sharp but urgent. "If you want to save her, we have to survive first." Every ounce of her being screamed at her to turn back. But Max, pulling tightly at her sleeve, reminded her of everything she was fighting for. They could not afford despair now, and then came the unmistakable scream, piercing the silence like a dagger thrust into her heart. The sound howled through the space they were in, sending vicious ripples of fear chasing after them. "Go!" ordered the red-haired figure, hand on the door frame. "We're almost there." But before the door could swing open fully, the shadow within lunged forward. Dark tendrils snaked out, hungry and relentless, as if they could sense their fear. "Run!" her father yelled, but Lily felt frozen in place, staring into the abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. Just as they began to move, a scream sliced through the air again, only this time it sounded eerily familiar. "Lily!" The voice was unmistakable, and in that moment of horror, a shiver raced through her. Would her love be enough to save them all? How could they possibly survive the darkness that waited just beyond their reach? The shadows writhed and twisted, their malevolence palpable. The night was far from over. Lily's heart dropped at the sound of her sister's voice, her breath hitching painfully in her throat. "Emily!" she gasped, feeling the icy fingers of despair wrap around her heart. The darkness seemed to pulse with a life of its own, the shadows across the wall stretching and curling like fingers reaching for her. She could barely stand the thought of not knowing where Emily was, of what had happened to her. "Don't look back!" the red-haired woman shouted. Fear laced her words, igniting Lily's instincts. But the bonds of family ran deep, pulling her toward the call that echoed through the suffocating air. "Lily, we have to go." Max tugged harder, his tiny hand grasping her sleeve like a lifeline. "Please. We have to stay together." For a heartbeat, time froze. Shadows danced closer, whispering lies that clawed at her resolve. Emily's voice rang louder in her ears, a siren's song weaving through the suffocating darkness. She had to believe her sister was still there, still safe, still waiting for her. The red-haired woman's face was pale, a beacon of urgency in the smothering gloom. "Now! Move!" That single command shattered her stillness. Adrenaline coursed through her veins as she turned, dashing down the passageway, flanked by her father and Max, the musty scent of the air growing heavier with each stride. Behind them, the shadows howled, their sinister whispers urging them to look back, to falter, but she couldn't afford to listen. "Why are they following us?" Max panted, his voice barely above a whisper as they dashed deeper into the darkness. "Because they want what you fear most," the man with the haunted gaze replied, his voice strained but steady. His eyes flared, shimmering with sudden resolve. "And we mustn't stop until we reach the chamber." "The chamber?" Lily choked out, laboring to keep up with their hurried pace. What had they all entered? It felt more like a nightmare than the familiar confines of her home. "Yes. It's a refuge from the darkness," said the red-haired woman, glancing back toward where the shadows loomed. "It won't hold forever, so hurry." Lily's legs burned as they ran, echoing footfalls slicing through the silence, punctuated by the frantic crackle of whispers behind them. Each scrape along the walls felt like a claw grazing her skin, a constant reminder of the uncertainty gnawing at her gut. The passage finally opened up to a dimly lit chamber. Candles flickered against the cold stone walls, casting elongated shadows, their chaotic dance both mesmerizing and terrifying. A massive, iron door loomed ahead, marked with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the candlelight. "Here!" the red-haired woman shouted. "I'll hold them off. You have to get to Emily." The man crouched before the door, hands trembling as he began to work the lock, fingers shaking with urgency and fear. The red-haired woman turned, scanning the dark passage behind them, preparing herself against the encroaching shadows. "We don't have time. Go now." Lily hesitated, torn by each rhythmic beat of her heart. The shadows whispered promises of fear, but Emily needed her. She could not abandon her, not like this. Then, suddenly, darkness exploded from the entrance, tendrils of shadow surging forth, grasping like a torrent of midnight, intent on tearing everything apart. "Go!" Her father shouted, pushing them forward with fierce strength. I want to let them have you. Stay together. As Lily lunged toward the door, she turned back for just a second, seeing the fierce determination etched onto her father's face, the shadowy tendrils twisting and writhing around him like vultures poised over their prey. The door swung open just as the darkness lunged forward. A moment stretched into eternity. Would she make it into that sanctuary, or would they all be swallowed whole? Lily. Emily's voice cried out again, sharper now, tinged with panic. The echoes of her sister's plight drove her to move as if propelled by instinct. With her heart in her throat and fear clawing at her chest, Lily propelled herself into the unknown, praying desperately the door would close behind them. Before the shadows could snatch them back, and in that instant, something jolted through her an electric warning, a sense that not all shadows were simply dark, some held secrets far darker than she could imagine, what was waiting for them on the other side. What horrors had awaited them in the sanctuary of the chamber? Lily could only hope to find out before the shadows claimed them all. Lily stumbled into the chamber, her eyes adjusting to the dim candlelight that flickered ominously against the stone walls. The air felt thick, electric, as though charged with every fear and exhaust from their flight. She turned to her father and Max just in time to see the door slam shut behind them, reverberating with a finality that rattled her very bones. Is everyone okay? Her father gasped, his chest heaving as he leaned against the iron door. His look of fierce protection was now mixed with a startling vulnerability, one she had never seen before in him. Max shook, his eyes wide and glistening. What is going on? He squeaked, his small voice trembling. Before Lily could respond, the oppressive silence of the chamber shattered. Shadows writhed at the edges, clawing at the light as if starving for access. The red-haired woman still stood by the door, forcing back the darkness with everything she had. But Lily could see her arms faltering, the strain of magic or perhaps exhaustion tugging her strength away bit by bit. Lily felt a sharp pang of helplessness. The woman turned, sweat beading on her forehead. You must find Emily. She urged again, fiery determination igniting in her eyes. I can't hold them forever. Who are you? Lily demanded, finding the courage, the heat of anger bubbling beneath her fear. Why are we here? But before the woman could respond, the room was filled with a cacophony of dark, echoing whispers. Lily. 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 They curled around her like tendrils intent on pulling her under. Each utterance felt like ice slicing through her heart. Focus. Her father shouted, breaking the spell binding her. We need to think. We need a plan. Can you break those symbols? Lily pointed shakily at the glowing marks on the door. They must mean something. The man brushed off his palms, glancing nervously between her and the door. They protect us from the shadows. But they aren't invincible. His voice was strained but firm, desperation was setting in. Then we break them. We can't wait. Lily insisted, feeling the urgency flooding through her veins once more. In an attempt to dispel the shadows, they all rushed towards the door. Max, still clutching Lily's sleeve, looked up with trembling lips. But what if Emily is in there? What if Max? Lily snapped, her heart pounding. We can't think like that. If we stay here and do nothing, they'll have us. With determination shared between them, they approached the iron door. Each symbol shimmered like a warning sign, as if reacting to their presence. Without thinking, Lily placed her palms on the cold metal surface. The moment her skin touched the door, a painful jolt ran through her arm, like electricity snapping in the air. She gasped and stepped back, but a flicker of something drew her closer again. It's alive, she whispered, both frightened and fascinated. Lily. Her father called, urgency snapping her from the trance. The red-haired woman's strength began to wane, her resolve dimming as shadows twisted closer. You have to act now. The longer you wait, the more dangerous it becomes. Lily took a deep breath, grasping onto whatever semblance of courage she could find. We have to destroy the symbols. Maybe they keep the shadows bound. All at once, they struck at the glowing marks, fists pounding against the cold iron. Each hit sent shockwaves through the chamber, and for every symbol they touched, the shadows shrieked, recoiling as if burned. But with each mark that fell, the whispers grew louder, more frantic. Then, suddenly, the cacophony shifted, morphing into voices Lily recognized. Lily! Help me! Emily's voice broke through the chaos, a plea drenched in urgency and terror. No! No! Emily! Lily cried, her heart racing anew, frantic hands hammering against the door. I'm coming! But with each desperate hit, darkness swelled, coiling ominously around them, eager to pull them into its depths of despair. Lily! Her father's voice quaked, sounding far away. We need to leave. Now. The air grew oppressive, thick as molasses. Panic surged through her like wildfire. What did Emily mean? Where was she? And what was standing between them? With all her might, Lily gritted her teeth and summoned every ounce of power she had, directed toward the last symbol glowing beneath her hand. But before she could connect, a piercing scream echoed from behind the door, chilling her blood. The shadows clawed at her, eager for despair. As the last symbol sizzled with light, and the whispers crescendoed into a frenzy, everything erupted into chaos. Would they make it to Emily in time? Or was the darkness preparing to swallow them all whole? Lily's heart pounded in her chest, the sound drowning out the whispers that rattled the chamber. The shadows writhed like demonic serpents, hungry and merciless. Each pulse of darkness seemed to breathe, drawing closer to the flickering candlelight, threatening to snuff it out forever. Lily, now! Her father shouted, desperation lacing his voice. He struck the last symbol with a fury, and the glowing mark sputtered like a candle on the brink of dying. The air crackled as if the walls themselves were alive, and the screams behind the door intensified. I'm right here, Emily! Lily cried, tears brimming in her eyes. Hold on! Please! She hurled herself at the last remaining mark, fists flying, driven by fear and love. Each hit felt like a drumbeat in her veins. The world around her felt like it was unraveling, wood, stone, and shadow blurring into darkness. Suddenly, a violent lurch in the room seized her breath. The shadows erupted, pouring from the corners like ink splattering on blank pages. In that chaos, the red-haired woman cried out, No! Don't let it in! Back to the door! We can't let them escape! Her father yelled, scrambling to pull Max beside him. The dim glow of the symbols flickered weakly, the shadows reaching for them hungry. With a surge of adrenaline, Lily put her hand on the cold metal again. The last symbol pulsed beneath her palm, and she felt warmth almost like a heartbeat. Weakly, she pressed her fingers into the iron, focusing on Emily's voice. I'm coming! She shouted, pushing against the power of the door. With one last strike, the symbol shattered, a burst of brilliant light exploding outward. Shadows hissed and recoiled, momentarily casting a temporary refuge in the chamber. Follow me! The red-haired woman commanded, urgency taking hold. We have to find Emily now. They dashed toward the doorway, but Lily hesitated. What about you? She asked, glancing back at the woman. I'll hold them back, but you have to hurry. The woman's voice trembled, determination etched in her face. Go! Her father urged, gripping her arm. The shadows moaned, swirling like a storm around them. Lily took one last look and slipped through the door, pulling Max and her father behind her. The hallway beyond was dark but felt alive, an unwelcoming maze. Which way? Max whimpered, his small frame trembling beside her. Emily's voice. Just listen. Lily urged. She followed the faint echoes, steeling her nerves against the darkness that loomed heavy on their heels. They rounded a corner, and the whispers grew sharper, more frantic. Lily! Help me! Please! Hold on, I'm coming! Lily shouted, her voice breaking. Ahead, she saw flickering light spilling from a doorway down the hall. Just beyond it, shadows snarled, clawing at the air like ravenous beasts. "Stay behind me," her father warned, stepping to the front. As they neared the doorway, Lily's heart raced. "Emily!" She screamed again, desperate and pleading, but the doorway began to tremble, shadows licking at the edges, a swirling mass that screamed of untold horrors. "Not much time." The woman's voice echoed in her head. A gut-wrenching scream rattled from within the room. Emily's cries filled the air with anguish. "No! Don't hurt us!" With every ounce of strength, Lily surged forward, ready to confront whatever dark fate awaited them. When they reached the doorway, she reached for the handle. It felt icy under her palm, like death itself. The screams intensified, a chorus of pain that silenced everything else. "Lily! Open it!" Her father urged, panic breaking through. She twisted the handle, fear pooling in her stomach. The door flung open, revealing a blinding light, piercing the shadowed sanctuary. But before they could step through, a shadow lunged at them, a dark form swirling into view, blocking their path, screeching and snarling, ready to pounce. Lily froze, breath caught in her throat. What was waiting for them on the other side? From the depths of the shadows, something monstrous emerged, and all hope teetered on the edge of a knife. Lily stood there, heart hammering, time stretching endlessly in the choking silence. She could sense the darkness whispering it wanted to swallow them whole. But behind the chaos, she heard the rippling echoes of Emily's desperate cries piercing through the fear. "Daddy! Don't let them get me! Emily!" Lily shouted, throwing herself toward the door, driven by both terror and determination. Her father grabbed her arm, urgency mixed with panic in his eyes. "We have to stick together." But the moment felt electric, as if the air itself crackled with unspoken tensions. "Let me go. I can't leave her." The finality in her voice rang true, slicing through their fears. She twisted the rusty handle with trembling hands, the door creaking open against an unseen force that pushed back, stubborn as the darkness outside. As the door swung wide, light burst forth, flooding the shadows like the first rays of dawn chasing away a night full of nightmares. The hallway beyond appeared alive, a wild dance of swirling shades and flickering lights. Victory felt tangible yet so far away, suspended in air heavy with dread, yet Lily couldn't stop. She surged past her father and Max, propelled by a fierce love that burned in her chest. "Emily!" She yelled again, chasing the echoes with every ounce of strength in her small frame. "I'm coming." But then, darkness swirled like a predator hungry for prey. A chilling figure loomed at the threshold, a monstrous embodiment of every fear she had ever known. Its hollow eyes bored into her, suffocating the light, and the rancid scent of despair prickled at her skin. "Lily!" Her father roared, stepping forward protectively. "Get back!" But the monstrosity surged forward, its shadowy hands clawing through the air with predatory instinct. In that moment, everything she knew, everything she was, tipped into chaos. The screams echoed louder as if they were a coming tide, a rushed wave crashing against her and threatening to wash her away. As they battled against the dark, the red-haired woman's voice flashed in her mind, "You must choose, fear or love." With adrenaline coursing through her veins, as if the flames of purpose lit her heart anew, Lily knew. "I refuse to let fear win." She shouted, shoving her father aside, feeling the spark of bravery ignite. "You won't take her. No one will hurt my family." Summoning every ounce of light she could find, every memory of laughter shared and days spent, she pushed against the darkness. A flash of warmth flooded through her fingers as she reached out toward the shadow. Raw power coursed through her limbs, and suddenly, it felt like the entire room held its breath, waiting for her next move. "Emily!" She screamed again, focusing all her thoughts into that name, into that hope. She could almost feel Emily's presence right on the other side, strong and unwavering. But she had to break the hold that darkness held over them. And the very moment her hand touched the threshold, a blinding light erupted. The dark mass before her screamed, twisting and writhing, pain filling the air. Lily. The voice that leaped from the shadows was a mix of fear and love. And there she was, Emily, stepping back into the light, shaky but resolute. Emily. Lily shouted again, rushing forward to envelop her sister in an embrace. At that moment, with their warmth wrapping around each other, something shifted. The whispers of shadows waned, retreating, desperate to escape the light radiating from their joined hands. The menacing creature recoiled, terrified as the siblings stood united. "We are more than you," Lily declared, pouring her heart into the words. With one final scream, the shadows whipped back through the door, retreating like smoke caught in a gust of wind. They fled the room, blinding light banishing them to the depths of the night. Exhilaration surged through Lily as she pulled back. But darkness still lingered at the edges of the room, its presence a reminder of the battle they had just fought. Together, they turned, where their father and the red-haired woman glimmered in the light, relief flooding their features. "Quick! Before they regroup," her father urged, and they dashed toward the door, the safety of light beckoning. As they burst out, Lily glanced back at the remnants of the shadows, their whispers fading into the night. And in that moment, she felt the overwhelming weight of love. Had they truly banished the darkness? With her family tightly gathered, they stepped into a world reborn, hope washing over them as the storm cleared. "Look!" Max exclaimed, pointing to the horizon. Dawn broke, splashes of flame illuminating the sky, chasing away the last traces of the night. "It's beautiful." Emily smiled, clutching Lily's hand tight, and as though the universe rejoiced with them, they stood together in the soft morning light, embracing the warmth of each other. The nightmare was over, and they felt the promise of brighter days ahead. They made it together. Family.so, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories that could save you in your darkest hour. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this unbelievable ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this tale of courage and love. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel, so act now.